Hello. I'm recording this early in the morning so that I can upload it at a reasonable hour that the three people who will see it might see it. Um, Yesterday was a strike, general strike, boycott, protest. Today is also a general strike, boycott, and protest day. There's a bunch of protests all over the country. Look it up. Unfortunately, there's no protests anywhere near me, except in the third most dangerous city in the entire United States, so I'm not going there. But there are protests all over the country in various different places, so look it up, see if there's one near you, and show up. But also, we gotta focus on important things. We gotta focus on food security, and we gotta focus on not giving the government control over various things. So, priority number one for me, honestly, is securing duckweed. There's this thing called duckweed, and it's basically food, which is a superfood and has been used by Asian countries for millennia, but is considered like a nuisance and a weed. Now, it is illegal in some states in America, but it's legal in mine. It is allowed in mine. So look it up online. But duckweed, as it is lovingly called in English, is basically a superfood that scientists believe know to be nutritious enough to be a substitute for eggs in the American diet, among other things. And it has a lot of protein, has some other nutrients, and it's not like I'm sure you could survive on only it, but it's not like the only thing you should eat. But it definitely is a food source. It's a good food source, and it grows so abundantly and freely that it doubles its amount in the pool of water that you put it in 48 hours, and it's edible. And you just harvest it. You just eat it. There's no special preparing you have to do, as far as I understand. But do Google it. Now, you just need a container of water and some duckweed and put it in there. The only thing is that you can't put it in waterways. That is illegal. But also, it's one of those things where it's like, this thing is so huge and it reproduces so fast that even if the government wanted to do something about it, they really can't. That it's so hard and impossible to control because of how fast it reproduces and how you only need a little tiny bit of it to have it reproduce again. So the ability of the government to completely wipe it out would be basically impossible. It's a very resilient weed that basically always grows in water, and it being called a weed makes it sound like it's not healthy. But again, multiple countries have studied its viability as a food source, and everyone has agreed that it is a viable food source fit for human consumption, not as feed for animals, but as human food. It is healthy. It is good for you. There's a lot of reasons to eat it, and it's overabundant, and we could eat it. There's also, this is far less applicable to most normal people, but there's this thing called jackfruit, which is a tropical fruit that takes a long time to grow the trees for, but as far as I can tell, it's basically every food expert agrees that it could wipe out world hunger if there were farms of it made instead of farms of corn and wheat. But the current industries that exist under capitalism are farm and wheat, and they will not go down without a fight. So do try to normalize duckweed. Now, you need to kind of grow it in sort of a warm climate with direct full sunlight. So you can't do it in the wintertime where it's really fucking cold. So it's not really viable to do it right now. But if you want to go ahead and get it now, just so you have it, and keep it so that later you can use it, that might be a good idea. Just stockpile on a little bit of it. You can get it for pretty cheap online. It's like $10 for a handful, $40 for like a big bag. And it keeps it live in the container. So you don't even have to open the bag. You can just keep the bag and it'll stay alive. And that's pretty much it. It's just a bag of a live plant that is a cousin of algae, on the animal kingdom. And essentially, this is just really good food. That's we need that, and we also need to focus on housing. So people should focus on survival and housing skills for themselves, and we should focus on affordable housing options, and and people building houses themselves with an unreliance on the system that we currently live under. And people have pretty high standards of living in the first world. They want internet, electricity, all this stuff. But honestly, that might be feasible now, but especially in the future, or the near future, even especially in the farther future, for people to just have a place of residence that they build themselves, that they give themselves access to the internet and electricity without needing to use a middleman. Now, in America specifically, if you want the internet, you're probably just gonna have to use an internet service provider. There's really no alternative there, but some people are trying to make some alternatives to that. You can look it up. There's a whole thing. People are trying to make a decentralized, person-centric internet that is based around what, that kind of a way to spend your time. And essentially, people are trying very hard to get away from the current state of things and have independence from state-run media, from the state itself, and not have to rely on the country that we pay taxes to please not fuck us in the ass 700,000 times in a row. So they're spending trillions of dollars on the military. They can't spend any of that money to better the lives of civilians because the technology they have is too advanced for us. We wouldn't handle it. They don't want to reveal that to the public, so we'll use it to terrify our civilians instead. And I'm hearing rumors of all kinds of psyops, people talking about the government talking about doing psyops in the near future. So just don't trust a single goddamn thing that you see or hear from the government in the near future. This is gonna sound schizo, but some people are talking about the government trying to do a psyop involving aliens. So just don't fucking believe anything. It's probably a trick from people with lots of money and resources, and that's how it's gonna go. Basically, is according to some people with more knowledge than me. But they could just be lying for grifting purposes. I don't know. But the point is that whether those people are lying or not, it's very obvious that the United States government is becoming, or was already and just is and has been for a decade, fascistic, or more than a decade, for several decades, has been fascistic, just objectively. And it's coming to a head now. The reason the Democrats aren't stopping this is because they want this too, or at least enough of them do. It doesn't matter. So if you think midterms are going to stop this, I very strongly doubt it. There's too much money involved in whatever garbage they want to do right now. And Trump has forced his way. Either Trump has forced his way and now people feel like, oh, I may as well go along with it. Or this is what everyone, including the Democrats' deep state establishment, wanted to do all along. And they're just using Trump being president as the excuse for it to happen, basically, to give the state more power. This guy was going to drain the swamp. Remember that? He was going to drain the swamp, and now this is where we're at. So, please, there are protests all over the country today. If you think that's a good use of your time, go to one. The major use of your time is if you can go to a protest and make friends with people there. If you can make connections. If you can find someone at the place who you can connect to and network with and just make a bunch of friends who you can join there. If there's anything you can do, if you can contact them by email, if you can get their Discord account, if you can talk to each other on a Facebook group, there's a million different ways to connect with people. And ideally, if you're talking about stuff like involving food security and building your own housing, you'll get some kind of secure end-to-end encrypted way of messaging and use a VPN and Tor and all that good jazz. But that also doesn't exactly help you. It's better to just use a VPN on the normal internet. It's complicated, but it's just the precaution to take. And basically just, I don't trust the government at all anymore. Like, I at least trusted them before, that like, oh, they're run by incompetent people, but at least they're, and a bunch of evil, corrupt dipshits, but at least they're like they don't have all the power. They're just at the top of a very tall pyramid, and if the people below them knew what they were doing, they wouldn't cooperate. But now it's like, okay, apparently everyday citizens want ICE to go out and fucking brutalize people, so I don't know where the line is for people. So I still have hope that humans are a little better than I think they are, but that hope is rapidly declining. That I should trust strangers to be that level of good. So at least a lot of strangers. So, but I do believe there's still far more good people than bad people in this country. We outnumber them a lot. So we just got to focus on finding solidarity and unity. And if you have any money, which I don't at the moment, if you have any money at all to like give to people to help them out, you should either focus on leaving the United States of America if you think that there's nothing else you can do, or like building robust things that I was talking about, like food security for people that's not reliant on the state, housing security, argue about land rights and whether people can build their own house in the middle of some spot that isn't being used by anyone, and whether people are allowed to just purchase acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and acres of land and then never use it for anything, or whether those rights are ceded after you don't use the land for too long, so that people can have their own, sovereignty. So, and that being said, capitalists will use the land to their whims if those kinds of things happen. That they'll do it faster than anyone else can. So it's got to specifically be focused on things that are beneficial to all of humanity, like growing food in public places all over the place, to delete food deserts, delete the ability for people to be made homeless just because they don't work, and basically just upend the social order by growing food. It really is just that simple. That's my long-term goal, is if you don't, you won't allow violent fucking protests, you won't allow people to do things like the literal constitution of the country says, the Declaration of Independence of our country says that we have a responsibility to do if we're faced with a tyrannical government. If that's too violent for you, if we're not allowed to do that, then I guess we'll just grow our own food so that we don't have to listen to you anymore. And that's my goal in the long run. But right now, today, it's a general strike. It was a general strike yesterday as well, and that one came and went. But today is also a general strike. That means basically if you don't go shop, if you can afford it, if you can handle this for one day, don't go shopping, don't go see movies, don't go, that includes Markiplier's Iron Lung, don't go to big places to shop and eat, don't go to school, don't go to work, basically are the different rules for how to actually successfully do a general strike. Now that doesn't mean that you have to stop buying everything. You can still shop at like local groceries and locally owned restaurants. That's not gonna. Do you think that the like Mexican owners of a local Mexican restaurant are gonna like go, oh crap, people didn't shop at our house today, I guess we'll lobby Congress to to take ICE out of the government? Like, yeah, that's not gonna help anything. So you can still go out and buy locally owned things, but just don't shop at like Walmart, Amazon, all the big name places, So that's the main thing. Really participate in this strike. Don't work. Don't do anything. But if you can avoid buying anything at all, including local places, then do involve yourself in that as well. It catches the attention of the elites and says, oh shit, these people have solidarity. They're willing to fuck up our system. So do whatever you can to participate in this. It might not feel like you're doing much. If you might live in a red state and you're surrounded by people who are still going to work and shopping. Yeah, but here's the thing though. If a bunch of people in a red state all decide not to shop or work today, that's like give or take 30% to half of the population of that state just suddenly not working. Imagine if 30% of the US just didn't shop or work all day, every day for like a week. That actually has far-reaching implications on the economy that you might not realize. The people on the top genuinely do partially require us to work. But I say partially because now it's an AI bubble and a lot of money is so far removed from normal people that they have such an obscene amount of wealth, it doesn't matter what we do. But this is in a way that we can affect change for us on a micro level. But the long-term goal should not be to go to funny little, funny little virtue signal protests. It should be to go to these protests. Like, do still go to them, but go for the sake of showing solidarity and building connections and building networks of people, because we have got to make something happen. And if you can't make anything happen in government, then maybe you should just make things happen locally in your life. The government can't stop us all from growing food, okay? So learn about duckweed, learn about learn about forms of farming that people can do that save them a lot of money, like hydroponics is one. I can't think of any of those off the top of my head, but I had a list earlier. But there's a whole lot of ways that ordinary people, and especially people with a decent amount of money, can become completely off-grid. But this isn't about going off-grid art commune, even though that's ideologically fulfilling. This is about like trying to make society into one that is less dependent on the system, because the system is evil, and you have to accept that as soon as possible and work towards absolving people of responsibility from needing to partake in the system lest their children starve or something. If people can feed themselves without needing to contribute to some stupid bullshit that they don't care about, society will collapse in 1 week, and it will be replaced by something far better. Unless it'll just create a power vacuum which will, be even worse after it's filled in. But if a system is so goddamn fragile that all it takes to collapse it is people growing their own food, then I say that grow your own food. And do it with the attitude of helping as many people as possible, lifting people out of poverty, helping people get their own independence from the state, and eventually we will rise above if we do enough of this kind of work. And I want to make my stupid artsy videos, but that's like bottom priority below just like actually doing something. So I'm gonna go around my city and try to find literally anyone who will speak to me about anything, who seems vaguely politically inclined. There should be protests today. There weren't any protests planned for anywhere in Missouri or central Missouri or any of these places, but I didn't see anybody at the Jefferson City Capitol yesterday, but I am basically certain that there's going to be at least one protest in Missouri somewhere today. So I'm going to go on social media. I'm going to get locked in. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to ask around Reddit, ask around wherever. I'm going to find some place, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to make some friends. I'm going to make some connections, and I'm going to put myself in as good of a position as possible for actually affecting change. And I want you to do the same thing. We're running out of time. I literally don't know if I'll be able to afford all my bills at the beginning of the month. I don't have all the money right now. I don't care. I'm still participating in these strikes. I'm still going to go out and meet someone today. You should too. Now, I do have the security of I have people who will help me before I go completely homeless. So I have way more security than most Americans, but I still... So I know I don't have the room to, and I've been scared for years to do anything, so I know I don't have the room to talk, but really, please find the time, even if you hardly have any time and you have to work at some job that contributes to the machine, just if you have 1 hour in the evening, plan for some meeting locally that you can do with like-minded individuals, and then meet with them. So the priorities are basically growing your own food and finding your own housing, and the other priorities are off-grid electrical solutions and independent Wi-Fi and internet that isn't controlled by the state or a corporation, and trying to make it accessible, easy technology that can be replicated by anyone so that anyone can build their own society, essentially, so that we can start having a second American Revolution in the form of people just breaking away from the state and living on their own. This should be the first priority of people. I'm just kind of repeating myself and yapping because I'm kind of OCD and nervous wreck. So have a good day, everybody.